I spent months knowing you through glass. Inside a small glowing rectangle, warm in my palms, where your face lived in pixels and signal towers, where your laughter arrived delayed by invisible currents crossing cities. I often wondered what gravity would feel like if you were standing beside me instead of inside a screen. Would your voice sound different without a speaker translating it? Would your smile carry the same light when released into the open air? Funny how a single Friday evening opened its hand and poured my daydreams into reality. The first time I saw you approaching me, I searched for the things palms always promised. The butterflies, the trembling pulse, the blush climbing the face like dawn. But none of them arrived. Instead, there was a strange calm. As though my heart, after wandering through countless hallways, had quietly recognized a familiar room. You walked toward me, and honestly, I looked directly into your eyes. I smiled. That was all. No fireworks, no thunder, just the peculiar certainty of something falling gently into place. We ate at a random food chain, the kind people passed every day without remembering. Yet somehow it became a sacred place. We ordered the same meal, but mine remained unfinished because a small monument to emotions taking up too much space inside my chest. I claimed I had already eaten early, a convenient excuse. The truth was that happiness had settled inside me like a feast. You finished my food. It's a simple thing, basic. Yet I remember watching you as if you were completing a sentence I didn't know I had started. Throughout dinner, I caught you staring, not once, not twice, enough times for me to wonder if there was something on my face. But every glance carried the same expression: nervousness. As though I had accidentally wandered onto a stage where you believed I belong. And for someone so tall, so effortlessly masculine, you possessed a great talent for looking unbearably adorable. Especially when I teased you. Especially when your cheeks betrayed you. I became a collector of blushes that night, a queen ruling over a kingdom of butterflies, watching pink blooms across your dark cheek skin every time I found the right words. You never stood a chance. After dinner, we wandered toward the circular park. The evening had already crossed into night. Streetlights spilled liquid gold onto the pavement. Buildings stood quietly in the distance, unbothered witnesses to two people discovering a new orbit. Then I looked at you, really looked at you, and your eyes carried a brightness I still cannot explain. Perhaps they borrowed fragments from the city lights. Perhaps they stole pieces of the stars. Or perhaps they had always shown that way, and I was only seeing them clearly for the first time.
You reached for my hand. I held yours, then tightened my grip because some moments arrive with the unmistakable feeling that they are already becoming memories.
Our steps slowed. The night stretched itself thin around us, and I secretly wished time would lose its way. Eventually, we sat down on a simple bench spot, yet unforgettable one. You know, years before, I had occupied the very same spot alone, waiting beneath the weight of my college entrance examinations, wondering what kind of future was waiting for me beyond the gates of adulthood. Now, the same concrete held a different version of me. One no longer alone, one sitting beside someone whose presence felt important long before she could explain why. The universe has peculiar habits. Sometimes it stores a location in its memory only to return years later and rewrite the ending. We talked about many things, and somehow cats became one of them. As if summoned by the conversation, they appeared right beside us. I remember it so well. A white cat, an orange cat, and a black one, my favorite. Small moons gathering around our bench, silent companions to a story neither of us knew was only beginning.
While you spoke, a tiny dream unfolded quietly in my mind.
A future home, a sunlit window, a couch covered in fur, several cats claiming ownership of our spaces, and us laughing about it.
Perhaps it was ambitious. Perhaps it was far too soon.
But that is the nature of hope. It sees one beautiful evening and immediately begins planting gardens for tomorrow. And there, beneath the city lights, with your hands still warm in mine, and three cats keeping watch over our conversation, I realized something. The feeling was never butterflies. Butterflies flutter and disappear.
What I felt was steadier, like finding a constellation that had always existed above me, waiting patiently for the night I would finally look up.
Perhaps the stars already knew about this. Perhaps that was why they lingered a little longer above us, refusing to surrender entirely to the city lights. Because when I think of that evening now, what returns first is not the dinner, nor the streets, nor even the cats gathered around our bench like tiny guardians. It is gratitude, the quiet kind, the kind that settles gently between your ribs and stays there. I was grateful you invited me that night. Grateful that amidst the uncertainties of my days, you became an unexpected pause. Because the truth is, my life without you often resembled a room after a storm had passed through. Half-finished thoughts, unanswered worries, 1,000 responsibilities stacked carelessly upon one another. I had left that chaos behind just to see you that night. And for a few precious hours, I forgot it existed. Not because the problems disappeared, but because your presence had a peculiar way of returning everything to its rightful shelf. Like a patient librarian walking through the noise inside my mind, placing every scattered book back where it belonged. Suddenly, the world became readable again. I am glad I never canceled that day. Even with the fever I had, even with every reasonable excuse waiting at the edge of my tongue. Because had I stayed home, I would have missed the quiet revelation that arrived disguised as an ordinary evening. I would have missed the feeling my heart recognized before my mind could name it. Some call it intuition, but I call it a compass. A small silver needle turning steadily towards something good. When I finally returned home, the night felt different, as though I had carried something back with me. Something invisible, something precious. The street looked the same, the walls looked the same, even my room remained unchanged, yet I stepped into it like a traveler returning with treasure. For months, I had mistaken myself for an empty vessel, a shell wandering the shoreline, waiting for a tide that never arrived. But that night, something had filled the hollow spaces. A warmth, a certainty, a light. Whatever it was, I knew I never wanted to lose it. I lay upon my dark bed and stared at the ceiling. The room was silent, yet my thoughts glowed, and there it was again. The smile. The very same smile that appeared when I first saw you approaching me. as though the memory has become a lantern and my face could not help but carry its light. I touched my chest, held it tightly, not because it was breaking, but because it was changing. And change, even beautiful change, can also feel frightening. I was scared. Of course I was. The heart is a cautious creature. It remembers every bruise, every disappointment, every promise that failed to bloom. Yet, beneath the fear was something stronger, a certainty I could not ignore. Because what I felt for you was not butterflies. Butterflies are restless things. They flutter wildly, beautiful and fleeting. They just belong to spring afternoons and passing gardens. What I felt was a little different. I felt like coming home after wandering for far too long. It felt like removing an armor I did not realize I was really wearing. It felt like finding shelter before the rain began. Safe, secure, at peace. 3 simple words, yet they carried more weight than all the butterflies in the world. And as midnight drifted quietly through my window, I closed my eyes. The city softened, the darkness settled, the stars continued their patient work above, and before sleep carried me away, I released a wish into the universe, small enough to fit inside a whisper, large enough to hold a lifetime. Can I keep this man through endless sunrises? Can I keep his laughter for the mornings that have not yet arrived? Can I keep this feeling of peace when the seasons begin to change? Can I keep the hand that felt so natural in mine forever? The universe did not answer, at least not in words. But somewhere beyond my window, a constellation continued forming. One star, then another, until your name was slowly being written across my sky.